Hello and welcome to Pixel Magic Tutorials. I am your host Geekman, and today we're going to learn how to take vacation photos, or any photos really, and give them that dreamy, soft focus effect that's known as the Orton effect. Now for those who don't know, the Orton effect was created in the 1980s by a photographer by the name of Michael Orton. And what he would do is he would take a photo, two photos actually, of the same object. One photo would be overexposed, meaning very bright with the whites blown out, and the other photo he would take would be the same thing but blurry, out of focus basically. And the reason why he took the overexposed image was because he would take the blurry photo and he would put it on with the other photo, the overexposed one. And when you put them together, you would get this soft focus kind of effect. But if the image was not overexposed, the first one, then the image would be too dark. So that's what he would do, and that's why he would do it. And it gave this beautiful, dreamy, yet still in focus, kind of out of focus, but still in focus, soft focus effect to the photos. Now, today, a lot of photographers who do portrait photography and also people who do landscape photography really enjoy using this effect. I would say they enjoy it to the point where it is overused almost everywhere. But a lot of people do like the effect, especially on their vacation photos. So that's why I'm going to be doing this today, because I went on vacation and took a ton of photos, and a lot of people ask me for this effect on their photos. So here we go. Now, before we actually begin, I have to get a few things out of the way. And the first of those is that I am using Photoshop CC 2017. So if you're using an earlier version of Photoshop, some of the effects may not work as expected. And I'm also using Windows. So if you're using a Mac, when I say hit the Control key on the keyboard, that means the Command key on a Mac. And when I say hit the Alt key on the keyboard, that's the Option key on a Mac. Okay, so now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, we can get started. Now, normally I would tell you to start by creating a new image, but we don't have to do that with a photo, do we? We just need to get that photo in. So I'm going to drag a photo into Photoshop and assign it to my working RGB of Adobe RGB 1998. You can use whatever you want. That's fine. You can leave it as is, but I'm going to assign it to the working RGB that I have. Okay, so there's our photo. Now, if you want to follow along with a photo that I am using, this is free off the internet. I have a link in the description below where you can download this, but feel free to use any photo that you might have from your vacation or otherwise. This effect looks good with just about anything. Okay, so that's what we have to begin with, is our photo. It's a very nice photo. Make sure before you begin that your photo has been optimized, meaning that you've made it look as good as you can make it look, and then you're ready to go. Once you're ready to go, make sure that you just have a background here. The next thing that we're going to do, and like I said, we're going to make this as easy as possible for you in the future by creating an action that does all the work for you. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is start recording an action before we do anything else. Right? So you want to go to your actions palette. And if you don't see the actions palette, you want to go to Window and go up here to Actions, and you want to click on that, and your actions palette will show up. Okay? I'm going to create a new folder here, and I'm going to name this, let's see, Photo Effects. Okay, because we're going to be doing an effect, the Orton effect, inside of Photo Effects. You don't need to create a new set, but I like to, just so that I have everything nicely put together. Okay, so Photo Effects right there, and then all you have to do is click down here on the Create New Action button, and then you have a new action. Let's name this as Orton Effect, because that's what we're doing. Oh, we forgot to put in a space, so let's put in a space there. Set is going to be within the photo effects. Function key and color, if you want to use those, you can. I'm not. And then we're going to hit record. Now, everything that we do, you can see the little red button is on. Everything we do from this point forward will be recorded. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to our background layer here, which is our photo, the only layer that we have, and we're going to right click on that, and we're going to convert it into a smart object. Okay, then we're going to rename that smart object as original, because it's the original photo. Okay, now that we've got that, we're going to duplicate that layer. We're going to hit Control J on the keyboard, and that will duplicate it. Then we're going to rename this as Blur. Okay, this is a very simple effect, by the way. It's so easy to do. So now we've got our blur layer. What do you think we're going to do with our blur layer? Yes, we're going to give it a blur. So let's go to filter, let's go to blur, let's go to Gaussian blur, and I'm going to give it a radius of 10. Now the thing about having a smart object and using smart filters, which go with smart objects, is that after they're done, they can be changed, okay, which is also great for creating actions, because once you run an action, if you don't like it, if it's a smart object with smart filters, you can go back and change those filters, which you can't do if it's not a smart object. So let's hit OK. Now that it's at radius of 10, we can hit OK, and you can see it's a smart filter. It's still live. We can go back and change it. I can double click on that and change it if I want. I won't, but I could. Okay, once we've gotten that, we can now minimize that. All we have to do, really, that was it. All we have to do now is change the layer mode and the opacity of this layer, and that will give the Orton effect. So we're going to change our layer mode to screen, like so, and you can see that we now have that dreamy quality. But to me, this is way too blown out. The whites, this is just pure white down here. You've lost the detail that you would want in some of the waves coming in on the shore. Okay, so I'm going to bring the opacity down to only 60%. So I'm going to make this 60, like so, and then you've got to hit enter. See, it didn't record any change here, so you've got to hit enter. So you hit enter, and then it checked that, and set current layer has changed. You can see over here, set layer opacity to 60%. You got to make sure that you've got that as your last recorded part of the action, and that's it. You've got your Orton effect. You can hit stop now on the action. You've got everything you need right there. Orton effect is now ready to go, and you can see this looks wonderful. This is a vacation photo that looks dreamy, and I can turn off this layer like so, and you can see the original doesn't look as enticing as this does. And everything still looks sharp and in focus, but it's got a very soft focus to it, which is why a lot of people use this effect on landscape photography and also on portraits. So there you have it. This is the Orton effect, or that dreamy vacation photo effect in Photoshop, done with a single layer, duplicated, blurred, and then set to screen and 60% opacity. And again, it's still live. You can change this anytime that you want. Now, just to show you how this works, okay, we're going to do this again, but I'm just going to use the action this time. So we're going to close this out. We're going to hit no, and I'm going to bring in my my picture again. Okay, there's my picture. Okay, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to select the Orton effect. I'm going to hit play, and boom, we now have everything done in one shot. See, they're all smart objects. The original is named original, blur is named blur, and if I wanted to, I could change the blur here, like so. I could go up here and change the opacity, like so. There you have it. The Orton effect in Photoshop as an action that is fully editable after you run the action. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe. I do new tutorials every Tuesday. And once again, this is Geekman signing off for Pixel Magic Tutorials.